All right, the highlights from GreatStockPicks.com live trading chat room on Thursday. Broke a couple of my own rules today and started off with 2 losing trades. Now, the only good thing to come out of it is trading lessons. All right, you learn more in trading from mistakes than you do from bragging about your successes. So here's what I called that lost the first 2 trades, and here's what I did wrong. MDRX, we noticed in pre-market it was gapping down on big volume. It had support right below 9 here from early July. Sometimes you get a big gap down and the thing just runs, okay? So now let me switch to 5-minute candles. And I probably should have known better than to think I would get away with this, but you had a 4-cent range between 9 and 9.04 for the first 5 minutes on 1.75 million shares, okay? So my thinking was, if it can break this 5-minute high, it might just be off to the races, okay? So I think I called it at 9.06 with an 8.96 stop. There's the trigger, and within another 5 minutes, stopped out, okay? Now, you say, what did I do wrong? For one, thinking I'm going to get away with something with this tight of a stop. I mean, technically, it could have been 9.05 with an 8.99. The market rarely lets you get away with anything that looks obvious. And you can see that later it ran, and we had a trade on it right here on this high of day break, and I had a nice big fat trade. It ended up moving up, I don't know, 20 cents, not even quite 20 cents from there, but there was enough volume to get a nice scalp out of it. I also suggested this as a swing trade once it broke the high of the day, around $9.10 with a low of day stop. You know, I don't have any. I just got a trade out of it. But, you know, sometimes when you have this big volume gap down to support, you get a multi-day climb. And so that still might work. Again, I didn't keep any for a swing. I'll show you one swing I did keep today. But anyway, what's the lesson? The lesson, if nothing else, is trading in the first 5 or 10 minutes is usually perilous, and most of whenever I break the rule, it ends up costing me money. Not every time. Sometimes I can call an early trade and have a great trade, okay? But if you want to generally stay safe, which is really what I'm all about in the chat room and teaching people to trade safe, I think I got a little complacent. We've had so many winning days in a row that I just felt like rules don't apply to me. You know, you get overly confident. And I made more on this second pop on MDRX than I lost on the first one. But the point is, trading in the first 5 or 10 minutes can just be brutal. And let me show you Macy's. Now, I didn't make a call in Macy's, but Macy's is a great example. Why does Mike say trading can be dangerous in the first 5 minutes, first 10 minutes? Let me turn this right back off for a minute. Look at this. Macy's gaps down. It had some support here on the daily chart. Okay, so it opens at 37.30. Within 5 minutes, it's all the way to 38, or within a couple pennies of it, right? So you might look at this in 5 minutes in and think, I got to get in this. It's going to run all day. Look what happens here. 5 minutes later, takes out the low of the day. Now you might have had some shorts jumping in, okay? Hey, these longs, people that went long here are caught. This thing's going to tank, right? So maybe you shorted the low of the day here. Remember, Macy's was not a call in the room. Macy's is just a great example of how dangerous early trading is. So anyone that longed the open, all of a sudden they're underwater. People go short here, and they're back. Look at that. You just can't. And these are 50-cent swings over 5 minutes. And ended up, what did it do? It ended up taking out the high of the day later in the day, and ends up closing, close to that 5-minute candle high. And here's the daily now. But if you traded in that first 5 minutes, you got whipped all over the place. So Macy's is a pretty good example. All right, then my other losing trade to start the day, Herbalife. Now, this was a little irresponsible too, but had this on bounce watch. Let me take today's crazy candle out of it. This was already really beaten up. So now it's on bounce watch, which means if it can trade in a narrow range and break its early high, you're probably going to get some short covering and get a really nice trade. Okay, remember, this is beaten up several days in a row, and then yesterday a huge sell-off. Okay, so now here's the opening candle for this morning. This one right here, this red candle with the topping tail, that's the opening candle for this morning. This stuff over here was yesterday's late day sell-off. So my thinking is, you've got a high, a lower high still. You're down to basically this area that it bounced nicely off of yesterday twice. Okay, so now if it can break this candle's high, I'm looking to go long right there, and my stop's going to go below this candle's low, thinking it might be visiting support. If this can light up the new highs ticker, it's going to be huge. Okay, you're going to get short covering because of the big sell-off yesterday and the several days before that. So that's my thinking. Over this 5-minute candle, maybe we take out the high of the day and we have a beautiful trade. So here's the trigger, here's the stop. Again, this is a very volatile stock, and this call was in the first 15 minutes of the day. Now, if I open one or add one more candle, you almost can't even see it. It broke this candle's high right here, and within a minute or two, I was stopped out. So now I've got 2 losing trades to start the day. And I even had a member say, did that trigger? Because they didn't even, it happened so fast that they didn't even see it. So, good for them, because that means they didn't get in it. But both of those trades were in the first 16, 17 minutes of the day. Usually I don't touch stocks, especially on a day like today when we had 3 or 4 different financial announcements coming out right at 10 o'clock, potential market moving announcements. So there was my early morning blunders, and all you can do is correct that going forward and say, okay, I'm not invincible. I've got to follow the rules all the time, and I promise you there'll be no early trades tomorrow morning. VVUS, I ended up with a flat trade. VVUS gapped up. We've had this one on our radar. I called it long over this little narrow green candle. Got like a dime move there. Scalped a few just in case it was going to come back down. I would have ridden the rest all the way up through the high of the day if it had happened, but came back and stopped me out on the rest. So I ended up with a net flat trade on that one. And you can see this was, it's options expiration, quadruple witching, and you usually get a lot of nonsense, and you can just see it, just a lot of sideways chopping around in tons of charts. NUS, I called. This was also kind of related to that Herbalife. I called over this tight little base. Nice volume bounce here, and then a very tight little flag. I called it at 40.30. And look what happens. It looks like, hey, great call. It went all the way in 5-10 minutes. It went to 40.65. I was watching this trade, and I had a limit order filled out of like 40.33. Okay, this jumped from 40.25 to 40.40 without any trades in between. If there were trades, it happened so fast I didn't even see them. So it jumped past my order, and I said, the heck with it. This thing's too whippy too. So that was a no trade. It looks like a quick, 30 cents in our favor, but it jumped right past our orders. So I don't think anybody got filled. And I did type out on the NUS call to use limit orders because I knew it was kind of squinky. MDRX, I already talked about that one, the swing idea, so I don't need to put that back up. And then late in the day, OCZ, I called long at, 206 with a 199 stop, and it didn't really go anywhere. I went ahead and bought this in my IRA because I like the daily chart a lot. This looks really good. You had this huge sell-off, and then you had kind of a this big gap here, and this gap had a high of 209. This candle here, it broke through that a couple weeks ago, went to 227. Then it puts in a lower high of 207. So I liked it today as it broke its early high, and this really looks good. If it can get up through 227, this maybe visits 3. So I do have some in my IRA, and I'm just going to let it ride. If it goes to 0, I didn't take enough that it'll kill me. But this chart looks like it might explode one of these days and give us a very nice percentage gain. I don't often mess with these $2 stocks, but anyway, I have a few OCZ. I also want to give hats off to Stephen B. and Wayne, a couple All-Stars. They both mentioned Expedia. It just goes to show how these guys know what to look for. They literally both called Expedia when it looked like this. This is one of our setups that we teach. And they both typed it out within 5 seconds of each other. They both came out with a chime and an alert. What's the setup? Expedia is grinding lower and then starts to get what we call shape. Okay? It actually had nice volume too. You can't tell it because yesterday afternoon had such a big candle there. It makes all these look small, but this actually was pretty nice volume compared to most of today. So you had the parameters we look for. We had shape, volume, into a whole number, and then one other thing we look for is it was coming down near the 15-minute candle, 200 period moving average. So you had 3 things going for you, and both Wayne and Stephen B. called it at the same time. They both alerted this setup, and this is a setup we talk about in chat a lot. The entry would have just been the first break of a previous 5-minute candle's high, somewhere right around 60.08, and look at that. Ends up going up almost $1 from there, and the stop right here below this at 59.95. Great alerts, guys. And B-Turk, one of our all-stars, I almost typed out B-Turk for a stock. mentioned ACN this morning. Look at this. He mentioned this when it got down to 66. He said it had support at the whole number, and it was at the 100-day moving average. And you did have, used to be resistance here, 66, 66 here, the 100-day, and B-Turk alerted the whole room to that. Now, I didn't get this. I don't even know if B-Turk got it. I never did have a chance to ask him. But his idea was around 66. And talk about picking the bottom clean. This thing went up $3 from there. Now, he didn't give a trigger and stop, but what a great alert for anybody that looked at that and wanted it. And then one last thing, I also mentioned CarMax, KMX, after the gap up using 15-minute candles. And I didn't type this out as an announcement. I just put it in main chat. CarMax 15s looks good, which would have been, these are 15-minute candles. See how they look like stair steps? Would have been 37.50 over this green candle. Entry and the stop would have been 37.12, and it ended up getting all the way to the high of the day. Went over 38 at one point, but again, that really wasn't an official call, and I didn't take CarMax either. I ended up green today because of MCP. I just made the wrap-up video for the website, and I can't remember if I put MCP in this video. I don't remember doing it. I don't think I did. MCP was one other call I made this morning. I also made that as the SMS pick. But MCP had this big rip here, and then it's been flagging ever since. Nice support at 10. And this one, kind of like JCPenney's, when it lights up the new highs ticker, can get pretty busy. All right, so MCP looked like this. My call idea for the room was 10.13. Okay, if it gets up to about here with a 10 stop, 9.99 stop. Okay, so that was my idea. Also call this an SMS pick. There's 10.13, and then there's the high of day break. It ends up going, doesn't look like much, but it went to 10.38. If you go back to the daily, 6 million shares, plenty of volume, and I had pretty decent size on that. And that trade really kind of bailed me out today. That one in the later day, MDRX. But overall, just a horrific start for me today. And usually I use these videos to showcase how brilliant I am. Today I have to use them to say, hey, you know, you break the rules, you're going to pay in trading. And I started off lousy. Personally, I still had a green day, but I had to really scratch and claw to get back from those first two early trades. I've babbled long enough. Tomorrow, quadruple witching. I do not like Friday options expiration trading, especially once the afternoon gets here. So tomorrow morning is probably going to be hey, I'm going to try to find a morning trade, albeit not in the first 15 or 20 minutes, and you know, may not trade the afternoon. Usually trading stinks Friday options expiration afternoon. So also, I won't be trading the following week. So don't look for any videos next week, the week of Christmas, and then I'll be back the week after that. So if you're not going to see any videos starting after today, have a Merry Christmas, and I'll see everybody. I will make a video. Well, I might not make a video tomorrow night with Christmas and everything. So have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see everybody the week after.